Well, guys, we all assumed it was too good to be true, and in fact, it was too good to be true. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse 1 and seemingly Part 2 have been delayed. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to wait a lot longer to get to Part 1, and way longer at this point to get to Part 2. Damn you, Morbius sweep! So yeah, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse, many of us were looking forward to Part 1 this October, and Part 2 next October, which we assumed was going to be how they rolled them out, a year apart. That's typically how the studios try to do it, at least. Now, that's no longer the case. It was officially confirmed that we are getting Spider-Verse next year, at least Part 1. We're getting it in June. Some places, obviously international rollout, going to be July. But again, it's still so far away. And again, this means that the second part is not going to come out that close to it. It's going to be bumped back as well, as everybody's talking about. So it's one of those things where you have to look at this whole scenario realistically and realize that this is just a giant reshuffle because they still haven't announced the next live-action Spider-Man and what's going to be happening. And they're going to take their time on these films to perfect them, and they don't have to compete with themselves, which honestly, it makes sense in some regards, but in others, it's like, this kind of, this is terrible. That's really the only way I can put it. It's unfortunate, but this is really the reality of it. And in my opinion, this just delays every Spider-Man film that was going to come out. And I mean core Spider-Man film. I'm not talking about Kraven the Hunter or whatever. This is going to kind of push back the entire slate, and maybe it's for good. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm just really bummed that we're not going to, be able to enjoy this film this year, which I think a lot of us were looking forward to. And a lot of us were just excited to get back to that world and those characters. Now it's going to take longer, but at least, it's not a complete waste of time in regards to Sony. Like, they can make this next one better. But as some people have said, they're worried about it. I mean, maybe that's a kind of line of thinking to take, being worried about it. But I honestly think this is just quality control and timing. I wouldn't be too worried about it unless we hear Sony really wanting to get their hands on it, Sony proper, because if that's the case, then yeah, probably something to worry about. But again, we're just gonna have to wait and see. It's unfortunate it got delayed, but I'm gonna say it's probably the best case scenario that it got delayed for, fine tuning and not for something else. Like, we need to force Morbius in there.